Hi there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my latest layout for Bramble Fox. And for this layout I'm using the December 2024 Fox Box Plus, which includes this lovely stencil and paper snips. So for my layout I've decided to use some of the simple vintage winter woods, and I will also be mixing in a little later some crepe paper snowflake range. So I'm using some circle templates and I want to cut out the tree parts of the white paper, and I'm going to add them to the blue spotty paper when I've cut them out. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not making them too big, but also not too small, because obviously I don't know whether you know the phrase, but it's like measure twice, cut once. I think it came from dressmaking, but that's where my mind is. I'm like, actually, I want to make sure these circles are correct. I'm going for a smaller one on the right, and I'm just bringing in a bigger template there on the left. And I really want to make sure I can include two photographs and some other elements on this piece of circle. So, and I want those trees at the top. They're really stunning in this collection. So I'm just cutting these out by hand. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect because I'm actually going to zhuzh it with a distresser, so it doesn't matter about the pencil lines or anything else. So this is the crepe paper snowflake, just a couple of sheets that I've got left in my stash, and I've cut them apart into the journaling pieces and the tags off camera. So I've picked a couple of photographs there of one of my middle son. He went on a skiing trip earlier this year. I thought they'd be absolutely perfect to use with this winter perspective that's in the December Fox box. And but because he's wearing red, I was very conscious that I wanted to introduce some red. And there isn't any red in the Simple Vintage Winter Woods Simple Stories collection. So by mixing it with a bit of crate, I'm adding in some extra colours. And I'm going to add in some of the pink as well as the red. I think that goes really well and picks out his warm coat at the same time. And actually, a couple of the pieces from the crate range say things like winter resort, ski school, summit pass, which I hadn't realised in advance. So I'm going to do two clusters, one with the photographs on the left, and I'm building up the one there on the right, which will also take the title, which I think is going to be Wonderful Winter something. I'm either going to pick snow or fern, I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to add another word in. So I'm already thinking where that's going to go. But I've cut out the paper snips from this Fox Box Plus, which is number 67, and I'm tucking some of those in and around the photographs as well. And I'm just having a look at any of the stickers, see if there's anything there that I want to add. These are crate stickers. I think there's a couple of trees there that might make the final cut. I tend to keep all my winter and Christmas stashed together because I think it's easier to get hold of that way. So you may see more than just the two collections that I've mentioned. So I'm just going to stick these two part circles down to the main paper, and off camera I sew them around the edge, a couple of goes with white on a sewing machine, and I've just left the edge a tiny bit just to secure them into place. So now I'm going to work on building the clusters, and I'm going to rough up the edges on these as well, just to match the circles that I did earlier on. Also, I'm punching the holes in the tags as well. Whether I put something through them or not, I haven't made that decision yet, but actually before I stick them down, it's easier to punch all the holes. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm happy with the placement so the title still fits, and then I will bring in some double-sided tape. I found the word fun on a chipboard sheet, and I think that's the word that I will go with. It fits really nicely under the perspective there. So I'm just adding bits of tape behind them so that they all stick together. Don't want to stick them to the main, the base layer yet, because I've got some more plans for that. So I'm just being really careful. I'm going to do the same on the left and distress all the edges, punch the holes, and then try and just add some little bit of tape to stick them all together. So I don't know whether you're a Foxbox subscriber or not, but I would really recommend you check it out at bramblefox.co.uk. You can have the Foxbox with all the beautiful perspective words and titles in, but if you go for the Foxbox Plus, you get the paper snips every month and you get a different stencil. I have to say, the stencils I absolutely adore, particularly And the paper snips I cut out when I'm sitting in front of the TV so that they're there in my stash ready to use. If I keep them as the pieces of card, I don't use them as much, so I always, when I get them, I always cut them out and store them in a little plastic wallet, and I think they're a great addition to any layout, so I would recommend you try that. So I've got this one pretty much put together but not stuck down, just adding this paper snip at the top. It says warm, cozy and warm, which my son does look like in that big thick coat, and that other one with the deep red is jolly good fun. So I decided it needs more layers. Layers are one of my things, so it will definitely gain a couple more layers probably before it finally gets stuck down. But I also trying to make sure that I've got similar colours on both sides, and a place there to put those trees on the left. So now I want to bring in the stencil, and I've got a couple of oxide inks there. I want the trees to stick out above the clusters, but because I'm using quite pale inks, every time I stencil one, I'm coming back in with a pencil, and I'm actually just gently drawing around the edge of the tree. It's not perfect, it doesn't need to be, but it also gives it that little bit more definition. I find that a pencil with the grey doesn't actually, it's not as in your face as if I was doing it with a black journaling pen. And there's not really much black on this layout, and I think the grey goes better with the actual paper. By having my clusters made in advance, it means that I can lift them backwards and forwards, just making sure that I've covered all the areas that I want to with the trees. This side, the colours are coming out slightly different because the paper underneath actually already has grey trees on, but I still think the colours go really well with the colours of the clusters that I've picked. So I'm working my way across, adding some more trees, using a couple of different ones on the stencil. Some really different shapes on there, and really useful. And I'm liking the way that's looking already. So I would really recommend. I'm not a messy mixed media person, but something like this, I feel like I've got total control. I haven't even masked off the other trees. I think they're far enough apart on the stencil that I don't need to do that. And now that you can see it, and some of it obviously is going to be covered up by this cluster, but it still gives that feel above them. So I'm going to stick that two down now. I feel like I'm happy with their placement. So it's time to embellish. This is one of my favourite parts. So I'm just going to apply some foam to the back of the perspective so I can raise that up, because obviously I've put a few layers in there and it doesn't sit totally flat. So a bit of foam on the left hand side, and that will sit nicely over the top. I want to squeeze those two Christmas trees in on the right of it, and also by bringing that pop of red on the right, I feel like it balances the red that I've got on the left hand side. I'm just adding a little bit more tape just to make sure everything is secure now. I'm using glue dots to apply the small perspective above the word winter, and I think glue dots are perfect because you can't actually see them. So that's in place as well. I'm now just making sure that I'm getting all my embellishments down, and there's a sticker tree there on foam. You'll find that I like a little bit of depth in my layout, so I'm always cutting up foam pads and adding things using them. So I've got a perspective tree there on the left and a die cut one as well that I'm just adding, just overlapping a little. And I like the way this is now all coming together, and I'm wondering what else can I add. I found some die cut snowflakes, and I also found some snowflake charms. So I'm going to use a snowflake charm to hang underneath the title. So I might need to bring some thread in to, with that, but that's something to think about as I move forward. I found a couple of trees. I'm just seeing if I can squeeze them in anywhere, because why have these bits in your stash when you can get them on a layout? But I am definitely going to get some of the snowflakes on. They go with the wintry theme, so I'm going to tuck those in and around the clusters. I know the clusters are looking quite full and quite busy, but because I've kept all the embellishment to the clusters and not on the rest of the paper, I feel it still gives you a chance to breathe and it doesn't feel too overwhelming. So obviously that's just my opinion, see what you think, but I can't help myself. Once I get going, lots of little bits get added. These are like the stuck on sticky brads from this collection. So there's some plain ones, so I'm going to add some of those in similar colours. There's like a pinky one and a couple of greeny blue ones, so I will add those in as well. because why not? I'm pretty close to finishing now. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. If you've got any questions, please ask and I'll come back and answer them. This is the finished layout. That's all the depth, me showing you. And this is the finished layout and some close-ups as well. Thank you very much for watching. Do check out December's Foxbox, full of fabulous titles and more if you go for the Foxbox Plus. So this is Sheena Rowlands for Bramble Fox, and we hope to see you here again real soon. Bye for now.